Hey guys, what's up? Are1 or 0 here. In this video, we will solve another 3 OSCP-similar HacktheBox mission in 20 minutes. If you're ready, let's jump in.
Welcome to your OffSec certification. Penetration. Test. Better than the rest.
So the first box is Chronos. It's the Linux box. It's a medium severity box, as you can see here. We are starting with an nmap scan. I'm using always the same options, -SC for safe scripts, -SV for version information, VV for variables. And as you can see, we're seeing port 53. I am installing DNS utils. If you cannot find NSLookup or related tools in order to do enumeration on port 53, you need to install this toolset, DNS utils. We're clearing the screen, then we can use NSLookup. I'm using the following syntax, as you can see, server and the IP address, and I'm only writing the IP address then, which has given me the NS subdomain. That's cool. And then I will use the tool dig to get more information out of this. I will use dig axfr. The domain name chronos.hackthebox, as I can see in the upper page, and at IP address. As you can see, in this way, we are finding all these subdomains that we can use in the rest of the video. So I want to include all these subdomains in etc hosts file, so that I can basically just type the subdomain name in my browser to go there directly. I'm writing the IP address, and then by separating with a space, writing all these subdomains that I already find by using NSLookup and dig comments. All right, we're just pasting the subdomains that we found for the box chronos.hackthebox. I'm writing them all, as you can see. I'm just putting a space between them, not comma or anything else. I'm saving the file, then we can just go to our browser and just check for the subdomain really quickly. Of course, I'm starting with admin.chronos.hackthebox. I'm seeing a login screen. I'm trying default credentials such as admin, admin password. None of them is working. I'm including a single code, and I'm thinking maybe I can check for SQL injection here. The first thing I will do is I need to save the request so that I can just put it on SQL map for me to get the results quickly. So I'm going to this request. As you can see, it's a post request. I'm copying this and saving in a file so that I can send this to SQL map. As you can see, I am just going to temp directory and creating login.rec file for like request. And I'm saving this file, and I'm just firing SQL map. It's the option -R for the request, and then login.rec that I just saved seconds ago. Then SQL map will work in the background, but this SQL injection is super easy. So we will basically use the most basic method as this. We'll use this payload, and it will just give us the admin login. It's very funny. Just write a random password, and as you can see, it gives us the screen. Cool. So from there, we will get an RC vulnerability here. As you can see, SQL map also found vulnerability, or exploited it manually, so we don't need it actually. So let's forget about it, and let's try to find a vulnerability here. As you can see, it's basically a traceroute functionality, but we need to check the parameters. As you can see, there's a parameter called comment, which is writing traceroute. I'm just replacing this with a one-liner reverse shell comment, and I'm starting listening on the port 444. You can just get these comments from a GitHub repository or this monkey. These are like the most common ones. You can also go to my GitHub repository. I also wrote these comments there. I'm just sending this, like I said, one-liner, and I am listening on this port. As you can see, SQL map also found the vulnerability, but we exploited it anyway. It's too late, SQL map, we're not listening to. So I'm listening on this port 4444, if I can write correctly, and I'm sending this request, which is giving me a shell as data. Perfect, cool. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to my toolset, which I installed before the video for Linux enumeration for privilege escalation. I'm going to this directory. That's probably one of the most common files that you can install. I am firing up Python HTTP server so that I can send the file to the server. I'm going to the temp directory and the vulnerable machine. After doing some crazy stuff, I'm getting the file with wget. I'm writing my own IP address of the vulnerable box, writing the port number that I'm listening on, and then writing the file name that I'm going to get in the same working directory. I got the file. I can kill this Python HTTP server. I don't need it anymore. I'm just going to change mode to make it executable. Then I will fire up the file to see what kind of information I can use for privilege escalation. So we are checking out, as you can see, data, the user, we have root user, we see etc passvd file, what kind of information we see here. Cool. I'm going down, scrolling. If there are any cool information that I can use here, cron tabs, cron jobs. Let's see what kind of thing that we can use. At some point you will memorize all these stuff because they're always appearing here, default Linux stuff, and you will understand that these are not actually useful stuff for vulnerability. But as you can see here, there is a there's another file here under var . So I'm assuming there's a cron job running with this file. Was it? Let's see. Artisan, and it's with data. My permissions are okay for this file. So what I'm going to do is I'm checking with nano. It's giving me an error. So what I'm doing is I'm copying and pasting the file content of this file, and I'm trying to inject the PHP code, as you can see here. See, it's super easy. I'm just writing my own IP address so that I can use this exact same file to listen on a port to get a root shell. Because whenever this cron job runs, I will basically get the shell as root. So I couldn't edit the file. So what I've done is I saved this file in my own current working directory. Save the file as artisan as it was saved before. So what I'm going to do is I will basically send this file from my attacker machine to the vulnerable box. As you can see, it's under temp directory. So what I will do is I will fire up simple HTTP server as always, and I will get the file with wget, and we'll save it as artisan as the default name. So we are getting the file, but since we already get an artisan file, it's saved it as artisan.1. I'm removing the previous file, the original file, and changing the name of artisan.1 the file that I put as artisan. Perfect. The cron job will work, and which will give us the reverse shell. You can also verify it, as you can see. The content that we injected is here. I'm listening on the port and just waiting for the root shell, which should happen in a minute, I guess. I will just speed up the video until we got the root shell. Let's wait for it. And as you can see, we got the shell as root. Perfect. You can read the file now. Cool. Next machine is Sunday. It's a Solaris box. It's an easy one. We're starting with an nmap scan. I'm not repeating every single time the same options. And as you can see, we got the port 111, which we will get information with the command finger. This is the syntax for it. You're using it with @IP address. It says no one logged in. I'm writing a random random username. It gives us not found apparently. Then I'm using the following enumeration tool for this port, and I'm using this Perl script. As you can see, the syntax is super easy to use. I will be using the users from seclist, a very common username. Word list that you can use. Ports, and we will be using this. As you can see, SSH port is open on 22 something, and I'm just writing the box name Sunday. I'm just trying as a password. It was really interesting that it gave me actually the shell on SSH port when I used the word username Sunny from finger animation. That was really fun. So the first thing I checked is where am I first, and then after that I check with sudo -l for any comment that I can use, which gives us the result root troll. So we can run this file as root. As you can see, when we do that, it basically gives us the impersonating results of root. It's not actually making us root. So if you realize from the home directory, there's another user here. So we need to go to that user before root. When I poke around, I realized that there's a folder called backup, which includes some backup files. I got this file content and just cracked it with Joan, which will give us the following password for the next user, Sammy. I just logged in as Sammy user and perfect. So the next thing we will do is I am getting with sudo -l, and as you can see, there is also wget tool that allows us to run as root. So the next thing I will do is I will use wget command to get a file. I fired simple HTTP server to get the file from my own server. I am using the following command to save the file. As you can see, I just created a file called troll, and it just includes the content bash, nothing else. So it will just be basically replacing this file that Sunny user can run as root. If you remember in the beginning, when we first get the shell as Sunny, it was given us that we can actually do it with this troll file. So basically, we created a file called troll, which just includes the content bash. And I'm sending this to the Sammy user, which can basically use wget tool as root. So basically, I will be using two different vulnerabilities here. For Sunny user, you can actually do use a troll file to be root, but it's just impersonating. It's not actually making you root user. So we escalated our privileges first to Sammy. Then from Sammy, we realized that you can run the file wget as root. So now we are trying to combine using wget and using the file troll to be root. So in the upper page, in the upper screen, you will be seeing the user logged in as Sammy, and in the down, you will see the user logged in as Sunny. So from there, on the upper page in Sammy, we will be using the command wget, and we will be downloading the file troll that we created in our current working directory. And when we download the file, we will immediately run it in Sunny user, which is basically eligible to do run the file to be root user. Hopefully this is not confusing. As you can see, we downloaded the file and we got the user root on Sunny user immediately. Next box is Nineveh. It's a Linux box. It's a medium one and a really cool one. I enjoyed this box. Starting with an nmap scan. All right, so let's see which ports are open here. Scanning takes some time. So the port 80 is open, so I'm going to this port on my browser ASAP to see the default results for the server, web server. All right, so I'm checking with dirbuster to find any directory, any file that I can use. Whenever you're enumerating port 80, port 443, whatever, an HTTP port, you should always check it for directory brute forcing. I'm generally using user share, word list, dirbuster, and the medium list, which gives us generally the results for CTFs at least. And I found this directory department, which will give us the following login page. Very cool. I am checking there the comments, and it gives us a username there. I am keeping this in my mind for later. And here I will brute force the password for admin user. So I will be using the tool Hydra, and if you're not familiar with Hydra, this box is perfect for you to get used to it. First, I tried to brute force the passwords with burp, but it will be harder. Let's check with Hydra command and pause the video for a second. So as you can see with Hydra, I'm writing command Hydra, then IP address, then for -L for the username, and I'm writing the username. For -P, capital P for the word list, I'm using record.txt file. And then with HTTP post form for the file or directory that you're going to use, or the endpoint. As you can see, we're writing department login.php. And then we're using the following content for the post method parameters, such as username, and we're writing the following content for the user that we specified, and then end character and a password and pass, which will be brute force. And then we are writing the error message that we get for every single wrong attempt, which is invalid password. So you need to observe which kind of error message you're getting, and you need to know at least like one username so that you can brute force the passwords according to it. To be honest, I'm not memorizing this format. I'm just writing it down to my notes, and every single time I'm using Hydra. Maybe I'm so lazy to memorize it. Who cares? I'm just checking out the format and I'm just modifying the fields according to it. So no rush, no pressure here. So we will get the password for admin in this way, which is super quick. I'm just writing it down here. I'm logging in. And we're there. There is a construction page. Cool. Let's see what kind of information we can find here. This is under construction. There is something called Nineveh nodes. I'm going to this directory now, to this file now, Nineveh nodes.txt, and I'm immediately getting suspicious because there's a parameter called nodes, and it's going to a directory and then a file name. What are we checking for here? Of course, LFI. I mean, it would be a shame if you're not checking this. So the first thing I will try is like regular payloads for LFI or RFI vulnerabilities, or I'm starting with LFI, doing this dot notation and then etc passvd, but there is some protection behind this. It says no node is selected. So I then realized that it needs to include this name Nineveh nodes in the LFI payload. I removed some of the dots, and as you can see, I got the etc passvd file content. It's cool. At least I found an LFI vulnerability, and I will use this later. But it's really important to know that there is a pattern here that expects you to include this keyword Nineveh nodes. So there's also 443 port open. I'm going there now to figure out what kind of page do we have here and what can we do to exploit it. So there is nothing to see here. So I'm doing again directory brute forcing, which will give me the DB directory. That's cool. PHP Lite admin. I think I use this technology many times in OSCP boxes. It's very cool. You can just check for exploit, but if you're familiar with it, you know how to exploit it anyway. There's a famous exploit that it requires you to create a table and stuff. But first, we need to brute force the password for it. Again, I will be using Hydra. I'm checking for which kind of error message I'm getting. I'm just replacing it. As you can see, it's incorrect password. We're just replacing the endpoint and the director for it. The word list that we were using, rockqtxt, is the same. Username is same, admin. I just replaced this, as you can see, nothing different. I'm using the parameters that I saw in burp, and I'm just starting Hydra, which will give me the result very quickly. All right, Hydra found the password as password 123, and I will be taking this password, writing it in a field, which will give us the page. As you can see, I'm creating a database called Nineveh nodes.php so that I can use it as an LFI without creating a huge payload, as this payload is required. I'm just creating a test table, doesn't matter. I'm creating one field for it. For the field, I'm writing a very simple PHP code. I'm sending the type as text. If you read the exploit.db payload information, you will realize it. When I go to database, it gives us the path to database as here. Since I already have an LFI vulnerability, I can just combine this in here in notes file. I'm just writing it var temp Nineveh nodes PHP, and I'm including the parameter that I wrote here. I send it to burp because it gave me a couple of errors, so it's easy to handle it here, you know. So I will be sending this here now. And the repeater so that I can play around a bit. Then I realized that I need to write end here since question mark is already included before. When I write that, I just got the RC vulnerability. Then I will be changing this to get a shell as data, which is super quick. Perfect. I will be upgrading my shell. I first tried with Python, but then I realized that there's no Python installed, only Python trees. included here. You will realize now. All right, I write it wrong. Always do typos. Okay. If I can type. Yep. Phyton not found, so I'm just writing Phyton 3 and copy and paste the rest of the payload. When I do that, I am getting an upgraded shell. Better, but we're still dubbed up the data. So we need to do the privilege escalation here. All right, guys, what's the first thing we're doing? Of course, we're sending the Linux privilege escalation script to our box, which should be in my tools box here. Yes, perfect. And the perfect way to send it is fire up your Phyton simple HTTP server on port 8000. I'm always doing this, I don't know why. And then you need to go to temp directory and get the file with vget, write your own IP address with HTTP, your IP address, the port number that you're listening on, which is 8008 for me. It should be 8000 by default if you're not changing it, specifying it. And you need to get the file from the current working directory, which is linenum.sh. I get the file, I will kill simple HTTP server. I will change mode for the file to make it executable and then run the bash file. All right, let's read the output here. What do we have? It gives us the kernel information. So let's see what we have here. So we're looking for cron jobs. As I told you guys before, at some point you're memorizing these outputs. I mean, it's really important to solve so many CTS because when you see these outputs, you're getting familiar with it. I remember that before OSCP, I even take some screenshot for some of the outputs that are normal, that are standard, so that I wouldn't be surprised by it whenever I see like, wait a second, is this a vulnerability or is this a standard? For instance, for cron jobs, just take a screenshot for a box that's not vulnerable and realize that there's no vulnerability here. So it's really important to solve at least one box with cron job, one box with SUID, so that you would be familiar with all these files. All right. After giving some tips, we are continuing networking stuff, ARP results, services. I'm looking for it. If there's anything weird, anything vulnerable that I know is here. Scrolling down, down, down. All right, moving on. I'm literally reading right now. What do we have? And my little eye sees something here. It's checkroot. I know that checkroot vulnerability exists. I exploited this before. I'm thinking let's check it out. And I don't know the version information, but I'm thinking worth a try. Let's try it. It's very easy to exploit. You just need to create a file under temp called update, and when checkroot runs automatically, it will give you the user as root. Super simple. Let's experience it together now. I'm going to my temp directory. I'm creating a file called update. I'm just writing the following one-liner, super cool PHP script. And then I need to send this file to the temp directory of the vulnerable box, which is super easy. As you all know, we will be using simple HTTP server. We will be getting the file with vget. I remember one of the box didn't get vget. I get it with fetch. I don't know if it would be useful for you guys. Anyway, I serve the cat update file and temp directory. Perfect. I am just listening on this port that I specified in the one-liner 777, and I'm just waiting for the shell. I'm also changing the file to be executable with change mode --x. Don't forget this, please, because otherwise it cannot be exploited. It cannot be run if it's not an executable file. Because I forgot this when I was first solving the box. And we got a root shell. Awesome. You can read the root.txt file now. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you know my videos, you probably know that I'm really crazy about these 20 minutes, 3 boxes, 30 minutes, 2 boxes, or whatever videos. So I will be continuing to create these videos until we solve all the HacktheBox machines, which are similar to OSCP boxes. I got my OSCP years ago. I am not sure about the new format. I didn't get the new version, but it shouldn't be so different. So hopefully these videos are helpful for you while you're preparing for your OSCP. If you have any questions, please drop a note, a message to me, and I will try to reflect it in my next videos. Cheers, guys.
This one dedicated to all those who complete the mark sex certification, the ones who not fault and not waver. No one to try hard and get braver. You must not fail, you must not nigga